good friend, Mr. Barber.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the witnesses. You provide us with real-life accounts of what it's like to run a small business, and I appreciate that testimony very much. We need more of it on the Hill, I think. My wife and I ran a small business for 22 years, and so we have our own first-hand accounts of what it's like to meet the tax code challenges and the other regulatory challenges. And I'm really proud to be on this committee. I'm a new member of the committee. I asked to come on as a third committee because I really wanted to do what I could to help small businesses, not only back home but across the country. And I want to venture into an area that hasn't really been discussed today, but I think is one that's really important as we think about simplification of the code. We also have to think about new taxes that have been imposed, and you mentioned one or two of them earlier, the Affordable Care Act being one of the examples. Back home in my district, we have a business called Syncardia. It manufactures the first and only FDA-approved total artificial heart, and it took Syncardia about 30 years to get where they are today, one small investment at a time. And now they're cash flow positive, they're paying taxes, and they're saving hundreds of lives every year. But one of the issues that they face, and other businesses like them face, are taxes that stifle innovation, creativity. One example of that is a tax that's now included in the Affordable Care Act, the medical device tax, a $20 billion tax that is going to be levied on total revenues of medical device manufacturers beginning this year. And for companies like Syncardia and many others across the country, the impact of this tax would be devastating to their future innovation and success. It's a tax I believe we must eliminate, and I've co-sponsored a bipartisan bill called the Protect Medical Innovation Act to do away with that tax. So this is one example, I think, of taxes that stifle creativity and innovation. And one of the great things about our country is that small businesses are the leaders in creativity, and they really, of course, drive our economy. So it's really a question for any and all of the witnesses who want to comment. Could you comment on what other taxes we ought to be looking at as we simplify the code or want to do that are hurting small businesses, specifically when it comes to innovation, new ideas, new products, new kinds of assistance for people in the medical arena and every other place? I mean, I think we have them across this country. And could you each comment to your own experience on what other taxes are getting in the way of innovation? Well, I thought Mr. Harris might be the first to jump.
I'll go first, which would be a more general comment than specific to an industry that these gentlemen can speak to, is that I don't think anybody in this room likes paying taxes and would like to pay less. But what they want to know is they want to understand what they owe, be able to plan for what they owe. Clearly something like the alternative minimum tax that traps people who tried to do the best they could and tried to plan, and then they have this second tax level pop up and surprise them. So I think transparency in taxes, predictability in taxes, and not being picked on because you're in a certain industry or doing a certain thing. I think that as long as people feel like they're paying equally and they're all bearing the responsibility, but anytime we target a particular business and say you are going to pay something, I think it obviously leads to higher noncompliance because they're going to know, why me? Why isn't someone else?
You know, the issue of the medical device tax was first brought to my attention by a dentist in my district. I said, he wanted to come see me, and he said, I need to talk to you about this. And he said, it's not only going to affect my business, but my patients. Going to have to pick up additional costs, and this is why I'm really concerned about how this might affect other industries. Any other comments from any of the other witnesses?
I would just say commercial printers are domestic manufacturers, and we qualify for the 9% deduction in our net income, and I would encourage the committee to incorporate the domestic production activities deduction in their small business reform. It's something that's very helpful for us, and I would agree with the other gentleman, just stabilizing and simplifying the taxes would help out tremendously.
Very good.
You know, the complexity is a tough issue because you give us credits and then you take them away because of AMT, and that's one of the things I mentioned earlier. And that alternative minimum tax, we need to get rid of that. We need to fix that because it's something that is hanging out there, and the complexity. Let's say if we buy assets in my business, and I have, let's say, 1,000 assets. I have to do depreciation calculation for federal tax purposes. I do a depreciation calculation for state tax purposes because Maryland decoupled from federal. I have to do a depreciation calculation for AMT purposes. And then I have generally accepted accounting principles, which is GAAP. I have to calculate depreciation 4 times on the same asset. That's a lot of work and a lot of busy work for no reason. So why aren't we trying to look at some, simplifying and getting rid of some of the complexity so that we know what we're working with, and it doesn't take a lot of time and effort away from our businesses to comply with these kind of rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.